We're kind of talking about that. It might be rabbit, it might be turkey, but it would be fun to find out. Here's some fun questions for you. Okay. So are you a science fiction fan?
I love Star Trek when I grew up as a kid.
Really?
You know, I haven't gotten into it for a long time. I mean, I remember the original Star Trek, but I do like it. I like some of the science fiction spoofs.
Okay.
The fun movies. You know.
Favorite Star Trek captain? Who do you think who's your favorite?
Well, I mean, in its own quirky, weird way, you have to look at Kirk as Captain Kirk as
Shatner Kirk, because there have been some other versions.
The later versions, other than Picard, I don't know much past Picard. I don't know if there's anything out there. I kind of lost track of it. When you run a winery, you don't get to watch TV or go to the movies and all that.
So you're a Shatner guy.
Yeah, I'm kind of a Shatner guy. The old original, which when you go back and look at them, are pretty stupid.
They're fun.
I mean, for the day. I mean, that was pretty high tech.
There is a great joy, and here's the other thing. I mean, but you got to remember about Picard. Why a Englishman is playing a Frenchman, but at least Picard,
right?
His family in the series owned a winery. So. Now, with the idea of science fiction, are you familiar with Doctor Who?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
I used to watch that.
Oh, it's huge. I'm an out of the closet science fiction nerd. So you have the Doctor shows up in his TARDIS. You can choose whoever your favorite Doctor is. I don't know who your favorite Doctor is. Tom Baker, maybe, or the one with the scarf. Could be any Doctor, but you got a time machine. Because we have a time machine, the fun things about we can do a vertical of any wine you want to do. But because it's a time machine, it's no longer age variants and vintage variants, it's only vintage variants. Okay? So you can choose any wine you ever wanted to do, as many vintages with whatever amount of age. You could say 5 years, 10 years, but they all have the same amount of age to it. What wine would you do that with?
I would probably go, just because I truly love ports.
Okay.
Would be something out of the Douro Valley. Just
Moors and Grams.
Yeah, Grams. I love those type of ports. I mean, the 20-year Tawnies are my favorites.
But this would be vintage.
Vintage.
Yeah.
So you could have 20-year Tawnies subsequently set up.
That's true. Okay. Now here's the next question: Who would you want to enjoy that with, and where? Because you have
How many people?
Okay. Top 2-3 people. Now remember, you got a time machine, so it could be somebody here with you. It could be anywhere, and it's also a space in time machine, so you can go anywhere you want in time. So where would you like to enjoy this vertical tasting, and who would you want to enjoy it with?
Ports were fun. I also like the reds, so that would be a tough decision. Well, two of the people I have the most fun with are Lou Rook and Glenn Marchand.
Okay, so we got to convince them to get into a time machine with you.
That might be a little close with all three of us.
Well, TARDISes are bigger on the inside than the outside, so
If we're doing ports, I'd probably definitely have to take my son Parker with me. Because anyone, because he's, got to have food and wine experience going with you.
Okay.
As far as over and above that, gosh, I got a lot of people that want to go.
But where would you want to do this tasting at now? So now we have the wine that you want to do. We have who you'd want to do this with. But where would you?
I was going to say one person, but I can't really. That wouldn't be cool.
You can say whoever you want.
Well, when we got along and everything was fine, my recent ex-wife was fun to taste reds with.
Well,
She was
here's
a lot
the
of fun
thing.
to taste
You could go back into time.
Well, that
when
would
she
be
was
cool.
gone.
That
See?
would be cool.
You know, that might have been the thing. You know, you could go back in time and ask her if she wanted to join you.
Yeah.
When she was
Fun.
fun.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Where? I've always wanted to go to Tuscany and rent out a villa and just cook and relax and chill and have some little villa out there where you can have a great view and just do a lot of cool wines.
See, that would be fun. So, a big collage of 20-year tawny from a major house like.
I think it doesn't even have to be tawnies. I mean, I like them personally. But if I were to sit down, I'd probably have a lot more enjoyment if I did some nice reds.
Okay, so like, what would it be like a first club Bordeaux
Well,
or a big
Bordeaux is fun because I'm a huge fan of blends.
Okay.
One of my favorite, and this gets back into my ex-wife Danielle. We loved our favorite winery from California was Ridge. I love their wines. They're just absolutely outstanding, and I love the blends. It's along that particular line. It's one of the reasons I think I like Bordeaux and things.
So you could say one of the Ridge blends or even a Ridge Montebello. Do a vertical of that where every single one of them has 10 or 15 or whatever amount of age you want on it, right? And actually, yeah, we had a lot of fun at the Smoker Center when it was Ridge.
When it was Ridge.
When it was
That
Ridge.
was a great.
That was a great dinner. We had a lot of fun that night. So you could do, so it'd be Ridge Montebello. How much age would you want on it?
Well, something when they get out there, I mean, you see some succession. Probably all within a 5 to 10 year span.
So a big vertical of Ridge Montebello, all with 10 years of age, with Parker, Lou, Chef, your ex when she was fun to drink with, in Tuscany.
In Tuscany.
In Tuscany.
In Tuscany.
That would be fun.
That would be cool.
That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Parker may not go if my ex was there. They didn't go along. But
For the right wine and the right food experience, we all go along. Now, you were telling me about this very unique table. What's
this table here is what is known as a Puchta table. One of my ancestors, not a direct lineage, he is like an uncle, cousin that came over with the family. His name was E. Puchta. And he actually had a tavern in Washington. The tavern was torn down a few years ago. But he patented this particular table.
wow?
And the ironwork, it has iron angles that hold all the table together. And the uniqueness of that, it was meant for bar use in taverns and bars. And it has cup holders, so your beer mugs
Or wine glass?
or your wine glasses
You go right like
can
that
go right underneath of there, so that your tabletop was free to play cards.
with the chips. And
With
you're
the
not
chips.
or if you're of Italian descent, you talk with your hands.
Exactly.
You're not knocking it over.
Not knocking your wine glass or your beer glass over.
You can just slowly
Just slide it under. Or if you're so inclined and you have a derringer that you're under.
I didn't go. I didn't go there. I didn't go there.
But it was. They predominantly were done square, but they were also done in larger tabletops with round. The round ones are very rare and very expensive to nowadays, as are the square ones in any kind of really good condition. Primarily, most of them were all walnut.
Wow.
There's a few that were oak, but primarily most of the tables. After Prohibition, you could pick them up for 2 bits a piece. Now they're square ones in really good condition are $1,500–$1,600. Round ones are $3,000–$4,000.
Wow.
Very rare nowadays, and back then they were cutting them up and using them for kindling.
That's a shame.
But cool tables. Cool tables.
Now, who took you on your first hunting trip as a kid? And what were you guys?
There was a friend of my family that my dad knew out of St. Louis. His name was Paul Fitzamar. Paul was a ex-military.
Mm-hmm.
He was a sniper during World War II. And he took me on my first hunting. I was probably about 12, and I had a single shot 16 gauge shotgun with a slug in it. That was my grandpa took this. And I was a terrible shot at that particular point in time. And Paul was one of the most patient teachers when it came. My dad was never a big hunter, so he had asked Paul when I started showing an interest, and Paul was very gracious to him and his dad used to come out and hunt deer, and Paul was very gracious to take me in the woods, and it was really, really cool. And I blew big chunks of dirt underneath the doe I was shooting at, and subsequently, the next deer season, he handed me a brand new Winchester lever action 94, which I did deer hunter for years with. And then upon his passing, or right before his passing, I guess it was, he used to be an Army marksman, not to say sniper, and he gave me his Springfield 1903 that he used in the military, that they gave him when he retired from the military.
Now, is that what you use to harvest a few of those beautiful bucks that are on the wall in the winery?
Actually, not. The one I got with my favorite deer hunting rifle, which is a Winchester 7mm 08. One I shot with a Ruger 45 Colt pistol, and one I shot with a Thompson Center single shot pistol in 35 Remington. And then I shot numerous deer over the years that didn't make the wall with 7mm 08, and my brother has one in 257. It's an old German Mauser that was redone with a new barrel, and 257 Roberts. Probably I've killed more deer over the years with that gun than any other gun I've ever had. But that gun was just a sweet shooting gun. And you just don't hear many about 257 Roberts, but wonderful, wonderful cartridge.
What's funny is I always tell people that go, the thing I like about deer hunting is it teaches you the patience to sell wine. That if you can sit in a deer stand here in Missouri for 12, 14 hours, you can outwait any buyer.
Well, it's one of those things that's interesting when you're saying that is, people say, do you like to fish? And he says, no, I don't have the patience to fish. But I'll sit in the deer stand in a blinding blizzard for, like you said, 10 or 12 hours and no problem. But I can't sit on a bank or in a boat for 5 minutes if the fish aren't biting.
I think, well, that's why I got into enjoying beer for
Yeah.
fishing trips. You know.
It's one of those things that I used to get great enjoyment of. You know, there's people that love to hunt, bow hunt, archery hunt. I don't have the time to practice, and with bows you have to practice. And for a long time, up until last year, I think crossbows were only for medical or rifle, or you know, and they're using a rifle. So I used to hunt a lot with a pistol because it was something that gave me. I was good with hunting with a pistol, but at the same point, I didn't need to practice a huge amount. So I used to spend a lot of time hunting either off of a stand or just walking through the woods very slowly, and I've taken quite a few deer that way, just with a pistol. I've taken a 45 Colt. Back then I had the Thompson Center, and most recently I have not used it recently because of a shoulder injury, but I have a 41 mag that I'd like to take out and try.
What's your official line of deer camp?
Oh boy. Let's say.
See, I tell people you don't have to take beer. It doesn't have to be distilled spirits. Wine at deer camp is acceptable and wonderful. I mean, we've said, a lot of people at deer camp with me, and I'm sure you've said this, if wives knew how well we eat at deer camp, they'd want to come along.
Oh yeah. We have an event at the winery called Doe Camp. And Doe Camp came around because the guys are always at deer camp. Well, we found it within, we had a couple of gals that started this that used to work for us. Well, one of them still is at the winery. And Doe Camp is primarily an all-girls event, although bucks are welcome, so to speak. And it's based on, it is a fundraiser to fight breast cancer.
Oh, is that during opening weekend of deer season?
It is the weekend before deer season.
Okay.
Because what we found was the guys go off, so the wives have to take care of kids during deer camp and deer season.
Okay.
So we have it the week before just for the women. And what we'll do is we'll have anywhere from 10 to 15 vendors at the winery. We do this on a Friday night at the winery. We open the winery up after hours. Bistro's open. We have massage tables where the gals can get massages. We'll have vendors doing all kinds of different purses and things like this.
Yeah.
And then we'll have raffle tickets for, we've had, over the years, we've had bow packages, fishing packages. We do self-defense pistol packages, rifle packages, which people can buy so much and put their tickets, and then we have raffles for that. We have live auctions for different things. In our best years, depending on the years, depending on the weather, we've raised, our best year we raised $26,000 in 4 hours.
Wow. Now that's a lot. That sounds like a lot of fun.
We had 900 women there that night. And they were having a blast. They were having a blast. And that's what it's all about. We had set up probably wouldn't do this again. We had a bow and arrow shoot where they were using arrows. We found arrows all over the place. Over the fence, into the trees. I found one that was actually on the other side of the road, over the creek and into the farmer's field.
Oh my God.
Somebody really missed badly with that.
I shot an arrow into the air, where it lands, I do not care.
So, but it's an event that we put on at the winery that it's a fun night for people. We have a lot of cancer survivors that come there, and from local. And all the funds that we raise there go primarily to the local people that are dealing with cancer, don't have the funds for transportation, to help with their bills, to help with their food bills, to help with things locally. We also have a local lady who, in her 30s, developed breast cancer, made it through all that, and then got cancer again, breast cancer again, from her implants. And which is more out there than was widely known. So she has a foundation trying to teach people awareness of cancer being caused by the implants that are out there.
Wow.
And so those are the two foundations that we produce for.
Is that so? This year it'll be the first Friday of November.
It will be the first Friday of November. Well, I think it's the second or third.
So first Friday of November. And what do they
It's
just
just called
make a reservation or?
No, it's just called Dope Camp. Just come on out. It usually starts at about 6, lasts till about 10 o'clock. We'll put up a big tent down below and put all our picnic tables and heaters down below. The bistro will be open selling, depending on whatever Parker comes up with the menu. We'll have vendors associated or structured all around the different wine room. We have a spice, for those that like to cook. We have spice vendors. We have purse vendors. We have people that make jewelry out of bullets and ends of shells and things like that. And we have clothing vendors and different things like that. It's just, I don't know all the details on the vendors as of right now.
It's a fun night.
It's a fun
for
night.
a good event.
It really is.
And you'll have more information on it on your website. And that's Adam. What's the website again?
It's Adam Puchta Wine.com.
AdamPuchtaWine.com. So when you have great tech sheets on your wines. Also, I've noticed. So if you'd like to learn more about the wines, the winery or the upcoming events.
We'll have a lot of fun. We'll have our new slushy trailer that's out and about right now. It's a bull float right now this weekend, and we do a nice job with homemade wine slushies. There's commercial slushy mixes and stuff out there that you just dump with the wines, but we've taken a lot more, taken to the next level, and basically just do a lot of time experimenting to come up with slushy mixes that go with our particular wines. And so my son Parker has developed this idea, and he's running with it right now, and they're at Bull Float this weekend, pioneering and basically exhibiting the slushy trailer to produce wine slushies for 3,500 people, I think, on Bull Float.
I did offer them Mardi Gras beads.
Yeah.
And that was a previous lifetime.
Yeah. There was a time when I was in college, same thing.
Well, 4 years on Bourbon Street. Well, that's something I will tell you about off camera.
Yes. I hear you.
All right. Now, so let's go back to the rosé, just because it's so darn dangerous. So you told me who took you hunting. I still want to go back to our earlier conversation of your grandmother and my aunt, and just those fond memories of the farm.
Growing up, I live at the winery premise, and I grew up in that house, with my grandparents. It didn't live too far away, but whenever we could get a chance, the summer times, I spent a lot of time over here, helping Grandma pick up the eggs, feed the chickens. We helped with butchering the pigs, butchering the chickens, milking the cows. We did all that stuff. I had the pleasure of growing up in and out with using outhouses and Sears catalog. We had the pleasure of an old hand water pump in the house. That was back in the early '60s. Milk separator, hand crank milk separator, where you'd sit there literally would separate the milk into three different pans basically, and then helping Grandma churn butter, just sitting here.
Yeah,
making butter
we
churn.
had my aunt's butter churn at the house. I tell people, I said, one of the fun things about wine is that aromatics in wine is something that brings back memories, because the biggest thing about identifying wine is that sense of smell. And you remember smell more than anything else. And there are certain aromatics that just take you back to your childhood. And I think like when you get that blackberry aromatic in a certain wine, it takes you back to being a kid with that plastic bucket in the middle of July, picking blackberries, and you could smell those hot blackberries in the plastic bucket for your aunt or your grandmother to make you that blackberry.
Blackberry cobbler.
Blackberry cobbler.
When you were just talking about that, I mean, when you're talking about the aromas and things, it reminded me of, we were talking about butter. Sometimes you didn't always get it when you were actually milking the cow or separating it, but you got it when you turned it into butter. And you could tell when a certain batch when the cows got into the onions out in the middle of the field, because your butter now
Has that smell.
it smelled like the green onion kind of characteristic, which I always found funny because now you have these gourmet butters that have all these flavorings, onion and everything else within the butter. And years ago, that was not considered. Grandma used to throw it out for the most part because it was not something that she
It was a
wanted.
flaw.
It was a flaw.
You know, I guess if you want to make gourmet butter, you could just put mint in the pasture, a row of onion, and
They would eat everything. Grandma had goats too, and I remember goat cheese and things like that. And to this day, while my dad's passed, but he swore up and down. Both my uncles and my dad never got poison ivy, and they swore up and down it's because they drank goat's milk and the goats ate.
really, they got an immunity from.
Really? That was their theory.
Huh.
But they could get in there and they could just grab it and weed it. I look at it.
I eat a lot of honey. I never had allergies. If you stop eating honey as an adult, I started getting allergies. So I went back to that local honey, and it's amazing. People taking all these different things, and it kind of goes back into that whole farm to table kind of concept where you're talking about wine or food.
Well, and I think that's one of those things that's so critical now. With as people don't understand this, as we start to lose their bees, how critical the honey was to keep people well over the years, because that was their natural sweetening agent. We didn't have cane sugar, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so he used a lot of natural honey, and people weren't sick every time you turned around.
No.
The houses weren't airtight.
No. You built an immunity from the things around you.
Exactly. Just like, everything is so, I sometimes think we're so, not that, I've eaten in restaurants where I wouldn't go back, but I think sometimes we're so too clean in a society that our bodies don't develop immunities because everything is so sterile.
Yeah.
Whereas years ago you were exposed to so much that you started developing those immunities to it. And nowadays everything is so clean and sterile.
And there's no fire.
Yeah.
And your body doesn't build its own antitoxins, and it kind of goes back to, one of the fun things, we've mentioned Lou and Glenn a couple of times through this interview, but one of the neat things is they always like to, we have this local food source coming in, let's get a wine from that same region to pair it up with.
Right. And it makes a difference. It really does.
Makes a difference.
And yet, what's been so cool, I've done so many dinners with Louis and Glenn at Any Guns. And I remember one particular, and I don't remember the exact wine it was used, but he threw in our Norton as a poured wine as a ringer in one of the dinners, and didn't tell people what it was until afterwards. And it's amazing how many comments to the good it had while they were tasting it until they found out what it was.
I tell people, it goes back to, as kids we pretended there was treasure in the backyard. Well, as adults, have that same mentality, have some fun, go visit the Missouri wineries and look for that same treasure. Or cheat on your wine. why does it have to be the same wine, the same varietal, the same winery? Because you know what, like I was saying before, that winery you fell in love with, it's probably been sold, a different winemaker, a different fruit source.
Mm-hmm.
So why not taste some new wines out there and see if there's a new love for you out there that hasn't been discovered yet? It's a lot less expensive than the alternative. And
I think people, the baby boomer bought more, took more home, but were less adventuresome. The millennial is more adventuresome, but doesn't take anything home.
they don't, trying to get them to come back is a whole nother matter.
Or to take anything with them once they're there.
Once they're there.
You know, it's a difficult marketing thing that we have to deal with now.
Well, we can figure it out, you and I can both retire for
Exactly. Baby boomers are brand loyal. You know, if they're a Budweiser drinker, they're going to be drinking Budweiser till the day they die. But the millennial is all over. It's all about the experience. It's all about what's on their cell phone, unfortunately.
But if they like it, you know, the thing I would put forth to the baby boomer is that, for example, you fall in love with this Norton, buy a couple bottles, try it a year from now, try it 2 years from now, try it 5 years.
Don't buy in quantity. I mean, it's been our experience here.
Yeah, but 2 bottles isn't a lot.
No, it's not, but it's really difficult to get the millennial to buy 2 bottles of any one type of wine, or any type of wine. It's sometimes it's drink what they want to at the winery. To take stuff home, you know, those are some of the reasons why, you know, we changed to, you know, we added beer sales to the winery, and my son developed a slushy program because we have a ton of bachelorette parties at the winery, and
Certain April, 2, 3 of them pulled up at 11 o'clock in the morning.
we have an average of 18 to 20 some bachelorettes every Saturday.
So all you single guys out there that are in your 20s, if you're looking for something to do on a Saturday, Adam Puchta Winery, I mean, I'm not saying, you know,
We do have beer for you guys.
you have to, well, actually learn wine, because then you can actually learn what women like. And down the road, it would be your prospective spouse coming in at Adam Puchta.
Yeah. Well, women buy most of the wine, so if you find the right gal and you like her,
Yeah.
and she likes wine, then learn to know what she likes, and it's a whole lot better.
If mama's happy,
Everybody's happy, exactly.
If daddy's happy, no one cares.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
what's funny is, you know, we've talked about farming practices and that, and when I kind of came up with the idea of, well, wine life, people would say, what do you do? Winery owners hunt? And let me ask you your thoughts on this. And I tell people, I go, winery owner is just a fancy name for farmer. Would you agree or disagree with that?
In this particular area, yes. Well, maybe even in California and stuff. I mean, most everybody that started with something, even though they may have this multi-billion-dollar facility now and business, most of us started as just simple farmers.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Mike Girdich, you know, he's just
A farmer.
a farmer.
A farmer winemaker. I mean,
You know, you look at a lot of the people nowadays that I know of, they were just simple farmers. It was taking something that they had a passion for and making it, you know.
if you have a love for the vineyard, you're going to have a love for the outdoor, a lot of times for the outdoors in general. And it's just one step to living off the land, whether it's fishing, foraging, or walking through the woods or sitting in the woods and hunting. And it's just a true nature of grow local, drink local kind of thing.
And it's amazing the quality of products that you can get locally, whether it's local honey, whether it's local, you know, people that raise mushrooms, whether it's beef, whether it's pork, poultry. There are some wonderful, wonderful producers out there doing great stuff locally. And trying to find them and get it sourced. I mean, we use a company out of towards Kansas City called Hemi Brothers, and their cheese products are just so good. We use their cheese curds at the winery. We use their applewood smoked cheddars. And then we also have they have a product called Quark, which is kind of a cross between goat cheese and a cream cheese type of blend. It's all milk cow, but it's got that kind of goat cheese.
Yeah.
It's so good with certain things like jalapeno pepper jelly or any of the berry type of jams and things that you can put on some of your breads and things like this that goes well with doing the wine. And we've had great success. In fact, we're coming up on in December. We do the Hermann area does their say cheese wine trail, and this year we're going to be featuring our Hunter's Red, which is an off-dry blended red wine, Norton, Chamerson, Nourier, and we're going to be featuring that as a wine, and we're going to be doing a little Canadian poutine with it, and we're using Hemi Brothers cheese to go along with it, and using the Hunter's Red in the actual gravy with it. So you can do things that doesn't necessarily have to be meat for those people that are against it. But
Well,
you can use your wine.
You can use
so many
wine
different things.
in different things, and some people go, well, how what about the non-hunters and all, watching all that? I'm like, well, you could take blackberries, and you might have your grandmother's blackberry cobbler recipe, or we were talking about looking for morels earlier. Morels. I think there's more to morels than battering them and frying them.
See, I grew up with them, and they were always served with a roast, where they were mom would soak them in salt water and to get all the little bugs out, and then she'd rinse them, and then she'd make the gravy, and then as the roast was finishing, she'd put the morels in with it. That's how I learned to eat it. That'd been years later before I ever had a fried morel.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, yeah, this is good.
Everybody fried them. Everybody at Southern's already fried them. I'm like, but in the wine industry, you learn, there's other things you can do with it. I'm like, I feel like frying is kind of taking everything out of it. But I always say, eat what you like, drink what you like, but at least experiment and sample something.
Exactly.
I just can't tell you how much I appreciate you joining us. And thank you.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
very much. I'm Ray, and this is Vine Chat and Wild Wine Life.
Cheers.
Cheers.